We used to think the rainforest hid emptiness, a green ocean washing over ruins that never were, soil too poor for cities, humidity too heavy for history. Then we aimed light into the leaves. Millions of pulses walked the canopy in neat rows, and the forest answered back. Forms appeared that no machete ever found. Roads that hold their heading, terraces that keep their line, platforms facing one another across quiet plazas. The story wasn't missing. It was under the canopy, waiting for the right question. Once you learn to read those hidden contours, the green turns transparent and the past steps forward with the clarity of an old map newly inked. LiDAR is not a camera. It measures distance with flashes of light. Each return becomes a point in space. Remove the vegetation mathematically, and the ground remains, a cloud of coordinates. Feed that cloud to a computer, and a map blooms where there was only green. Ridges and ditches, ramps and causeways, the human signature written in elevation and slope. You don't need a trench to see that someone planned this. You need light and patience. In Ecuador's Upano Valley, those points resolved into a network of ancient settlements in the Andean foothills, linked by straight roads and framed by earthen platforms and fields. The dates stretch across centuries on either side of the common era. The pattern isn't a scatter of hamlets, but deliberate space, streets with logic, repeated courts, agricultural blocks that speak the language of labor. Long before concrete and steel, people here built order into the rainforest, tuned to river crossings and seasonal rain. Look closer, and the plan reads even more intentional. Platforms rise like stacked stages, ditches define edges, causeways march straight when the land wants them to bend. The neighborhoods don't compress into a single walled metropolis. They sit apart, separated by forest and stream, yet knitted by roads and water. It's low-density urbanism for the tropics, made for feet and rafts, built to flood and drain, maintained as a network rather than a fortress. South across the basin, the picture repeats with its own accent. In Bolivia's Mojos region, LiDAR traced the Casarabe, tiered settlements in hierarchies, monumental platforms, long straight causeways between nodes, canals and reservoirs stitched into wetland and woodland. Two of the largest sites rival small towns and sit within a web of smaller places that echo the plan. This is urban life that trades stone towers for earthwork and height for reach, flourishing for many centuries before European contact in the late Holocene. Farther west in Brazil's Acre state, the lines change again. Cleared edges reveal geometry, hundreds of earthworks, squares, circles, interlocking shapes, linked by straight roads. Some look ceremonial, some appear defensive, some may have marked fields or territories now erased from memory. They aren't cities in the strict sense, yet they are unmistakably the handiwork of organized communities shaping land over generations. Not every revelation is pre-Columbian. Along the Guaporé River, scans, archival maps, and local memory converged on an 18th century colonial city. A rigid grid with fortifications, canals, and churches, and routes linking it to nearby indigenous places. Finding a colonial town in the world's largest rainforest doesn't contradict indigenous urbanism. It is another layer in a long palimpsest. The basin held many plans across time, networks attuned to floodplains and grids built to command and extract. So what do we call what the lasers reveal? City is a heavy word. In the Amazon, the evidence skews differently. Platforms and mounds, straight causeways and orthogonal roads, canals and fish weirs, fields and forest gardens, clusters of neighborhood-scale hubs repeating a template across miles. It's urban life stretched wide and stitched to ecology rather than stacked high and sealed in stone. If city sounds wrong, try landscapes of settlement, or the simpler truth, planned places linked in networks. Soils confirm the same story. The rainforest's natural dirt is often poor, leached by rain. Yet scattered across the basin are dark, fertile patches, Amazonian dark earth, Terra Preta, rich in organic matter and biochar. These are engineered soils, built over generations by adding plant waste, ash and char, then farming, then adding more. They hold nutrients and recycle them, making sustained agriculture possible where the stereotype says it shouldn't be. None of this claims the entire Amazon was a continuous metropolis. The new maps argue for a mosaic, dense nodes and wide corridors, managed forests and fishing grounds, settlements that waxed and waned with climate and politics. Some places read as ceremonial, others residential, others agrarian. The pattern is uneven because human history is uneven. Rises and collapses, generous seasons and lean ones, river courses that shift and remake the map. LiDAR doesn't replace excavation. It rewrites the to-do list. A runway-straight causeway on a screen becomes the place to start a trench. A subtle terrace turns into a spot to sift for charcoal and seeds. A neighborhood-like cluster becomes a question about houses, posts, floors, hearths. The technology gives us the outline and dares us to be careful with the fill. Archaeology moves slowly here. Date the charcoal, identify phytoliths, compare soils, and let the ground answer. There is also a responsibility written into every scan. Each line drawn on a map corresponds to a place where someone still lives, farms, or hunts. Many of the people whose ancestors built these networks are here, speaking languages that carry memory across centuries. If you call a place newly discovered, ask who pointed you there. If you copy a colonial grid into a modern atlas, ask who paid the cost of that geometry the first time. The beam that reveals can also erase if credit and care fall away. What should we do with the picture once we have it? Let go of a myth that was never harmless, the blank green. Nothing about this basin was blank. That empty map myth justified conquest, extraction, and neglect. The new maps close that door and open another. They show people designing with water and wood, with soils they made and forests they tended. They show patterns that tackle problems we still struggle with, living with floods rather than against them, growing food without strip mining the earth, building in pieces that fit the land instead of forcing the land to fit a single piece. Stand at the mouth of one of those straight roads in your mind. Picture the day it was cleared. Sweat, rhythm, and signals moving down a work line. The choice to place one platform opposite another so voices carry between them. Imagine fish sliding through a canal that didn't exist the year before. A harvest raised on dark soil someone's grandmother fed for decades. A procession crossing a square that still holds its shape beneath a century of roots. These aren't fantasies. They are the scene's LiDAR sketches when it traces hidden slopes and edges under the leaves. Soon another scan will light up a valley, and another network will crystallize on screen where a blank patch sat yesterday. We'll argue, as we should, about what to call it, how to date it, who built it, how it changed. But we can set aside the doubt that the Amazon held complex societies. The points have been counted, the lines are drawn, the forest has spoken in elevation and range, and the sentence it writes is simple. People lived here together in numbers and in patterns for a very long time. If you enjoyed this journey, hit subscribe, share your theory below, and join us next time on Vault of Forgotten Mysteries, where the past is never quite finished.